Craig, I want to get your thoughts on the Auston Matthews suspension of 2 games. One of the knocks, I think, if there have been on Matthews, is sometimes it's hard to light a fire underneath him in big games. That wasn't the case yesterday. So is this suspension one step back, maybe 2 steps forward?
Yeah, I think it was out of place for him. You're right. I mean, what I've seen and what I've liked from him in the last couple of months is a lot more emotion, a lot more energy, like really digging in and talking on the bench and trying to motivate guys, get excited to be out there and play. So I think he's shown a lot of that. That was a rare glimpse. I had to, I actually called for the replay to come back again after seeing it sort of the first 2 times and go, yeah, that's going to be a suspension. You got to take a look at it again, get a real good sense. But it was one of those moments, and boy, we've all had them where frustration set in. He kind of snapped a little bit, and it's one that I think the step backwards obviously is how hot he's been, and the race he's having to get to 50. But I don't think it's going to derail him at all. I think if anything else, he'll be frustrated that he's got to miss 2, and he'll be more determined when he does come back to light a fire under his team again.
Simmer, the Leafs are still in a pretty good position in the standings. And, if you look at their record over the past 10 or whatever, it's not that terrible. But there's no doubt they're scuffling here. They're going through a rough patch. Yep. What is it that you're seeing? Is it just the goaltending? There's some people who think it's as simple as that, or is there more going on in front of the crease?
Well, the goaltending just, exacerbates every little mistake or maybe a misread, or you go through stretches. We talked about it before. Both goaltenders are kind of going through stretches where pucks finding a way slipping through them or getting deflected in front, and some of those are difficult saves, but you gotta at some point get some consistency so your team knows what they have to do and knows what to expect. When even a shot from the point right now is like, oh my God, I better get in front of it because it's got a chance to go in. So I think if you put the truth serum on Sheldon, he's not all that happy with their team defensive play. They're still, like I thought last night, again, some turnovers in the neutral zone end up costing you and go back the other way. But I just think that there's no question that every player would be thinking, like, holy cow, if we can get a save, we probably win that game. And that's, as you guys know, a real frustrating, bad, feeling to have as a teammate, even going into a game.
Besides broadcasting, you've also had the pleasure of being a coach in the National Hockey League. So put on your coach's hat right now. Watching those mistakes that you just spoke of, what do you do with this lineup? What's the tendencies now when you watch a team like this struggle, fighting for maybe 50-50 pucks? What do you say to them? What do you try to do? What do you try to accomplish in the next 2 games against Dallas and Carolina?
Yeah, I think, maybe it's an opportunity with Matthews out and some good opponents that, you really do just dial in and focus on your defensive game. I think the offense can come organically with this group. They've got enough skilled guys that it'll happen. But I just think it's at that sort of reset time where, we've got to be a focused team on protecting the puck. When they're playing at their best, often it is their puck possession game that ends up being a solid way of defending because nobody has the puck but them. And when they're playing at their best, often their best defense is hemming lines in the offensive zone and not giving and not turning pucks over. So I think that's a time, because Matthews is out too, you might want to experiment with Tavares and Marner and maybe get Tavares going a little bit more again and see if you can create a little bit of, momentum there without having to split up Matthews and Marner, because I don't think that would make any sense, right? So it might be as easy as slotting in Tavares with Bunting and Marner for those 2 games and really focus your team on defense. I do think the problem on the back end, though, is he's been trying to do the righty-lefty and trying to balance out and keep Brody and Riley separated. I think that has hurt Morgan a little bit, and I think it brings him back a bit. And I understand the thought of it, but it might be one where you try a game and challenge the other guys to find some chemistry and maybe put those two together and see if that can settle things down.
Yeah, the hurting Riley thing is a good observation. He's been trying to carry someone, right? Whether it be Liljegren or Sandin, or it's been a big ask of him. So, as I see things right now, there seems to be some sort of issue with the second line. Like Tavares and Nylander are struggling to score. The back end seems to be missing somewhere. We're talking about the goaltending, which is priority number one as they head into the trade deadline. They can make one move, Simmer. Which one do you think they need to plug first?
Well, I've said I just don't see an opportunity or a person that jumps out as a goaltender that you can really honestly make. So I think you're stuck, and maybe you give Källgren an opportunity to play, and maybe that takes a game off mentally for Mrazek and gets him reset, work on, his technique a little more. I think he's way too active in the net. So from a trade deadline stuff, I just don't see a scenario that's going to really work from a goaltender point. So to me, you got to get a right shot D. You've got to get some stability there, and you've got to sort of settle things down. I think, anyways, that would be number one for me.